We recently put a video out there on a full build for what I, a little bit subjectively, think is a pretty great beginner workbench for those looking to put together their first workbench or looking to upgrade into a new workbench. But that got me thinking about all the different styles of workbench. Now, there's the famous styles out there like the Roubo, the Nicholson, Paul Sellers, Moravian, but all of those are a little bit more geared towards hand tools, using planes, things that not every woodworker does out there. And if you are one of those woodworkers that uses all of those all the time, power to you. And we need more people out there that can do fine joinery by hand. But the other downside of each of those workbenches is you kind of need to know what you want out of the workbench and how you want things set up in order to decide which of those is the right one for you. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I've built several different types of workbenches over the years, and none of them were any of those styles. And I've actually got 3 different distinct workbenches in my workshop right now today. And so I thought, well, I could show you what I have and talk about what's good, what's bad, and maybe that would help you when you design your next workbench. So hope you'll stay tuned as we tour our shop today. Now the first workbench we're going to look at today, and the one that I've had for the longest out of these 3, is what it serves as my miter station. Now I don't have any fancy criteria or rating system that we're going to go through with all of this, but I will try to highlight some of the same key points across all of them. First being the ease of building. Now this is pretty much just 2 big boxes with a lowered platform running between them. Entirely made out of plywood. We do have 2 drawers, but still in plywood. So for ease of building this, it's gotta be an A or a 5 if we're going to 1 out of 5 scale. So put this at the top because this is the easiest workbench out of the 3 that you can build. The problem with that and some of the downsides is you've probably seen the cost of plywood today. And this used quite a bit of it, especially since I wanted Outfeed on both sides of the miter saw. So cost, I'd put this pretty low on the cost rating scale, maybe a 2. Since all these workbenches are different sizes, I'm not going to just talk about storage capacity, because obviously a bigger workbench can hold more than a smaller workbench. I'm going to talk about more the usability of the storage and how easy it is for the storage. So as you can see, we've got a lot of storage here, but I've only got 2 drawers, and pretty much everywhere else is just giant big open shelves that get cluttered and stuff gets thrown in. It's not organized very well. So I mean, while there is storage here, I wouldn't rate it great either. I would say it's probably a 2 or a 3 out of 5 on this one as well. And the other downside with the box construction we went with is, even though I've gone back in and added in some triangular bracing in the back, it still wants to wobble. So this is certainly not a bench you want to be trying to plane a board or use a chisel in this direction on. It's pretty good front to back, but side to side, it's not nearly as sturdy as I would like it to be. So I'm going to have to give that probably a 2 as well, out of 5. And then lastly is really the versatility and functioning mobility capabilities of this. There's no wheels. This thing's heavy as can be, even without being loaded down with all the tools and stuff I've got in it. And so when you add all that in, you can't move this anywhere. It's all joined together as one piece. You have to disassemble it if you want to move it. So on the mobility aspect of it, it's probably a 1. We'll boost up the functionality aspect for it to give it maybe a 2 because the recessed capability of the miter saw with the outfeed tables on either side is great when you're working with large pieces of stock. Second on our workbenches, and the one we have a full build video for, is the beginner style 2x4 workbench. So for ease in construction, while not as simple as just 2 boxes like our miter station workbench was, this is pretty easy out there. I'd say it's got to be a 4 out of 5 on easy scale. You can watch the video yourself and let us know if you think differently. And then when it comes to cost, 2x4s are very cheap. Now, the Formica laminate top and plywood, that adds some cost to it. As I talked in that video, you could easily swap this out for melamine to drive down costs. And the 2x4s are dirt cheap. So the affordability of this one, I'm gonna go a 5 out of 5 on it because it's the cheapest of the 3 workbenches I've got. Storage. Again, this is a larger workbench, so a lot of the storage capacity is improved, but also it's a little bit more organized. So now I've got 3 large drawers spread out on this workbench. And then you've got the 2 lower shelves. So it's a little bit more organized than what we had over there. And it can hold a ton of weight. I mean, there's hundreds of pounds on this. I can come and stand on it without issue. This thing's built to store a lot of stuff. So on the storage side, I'm gonna go a 4 out of 5 again. Sturdiness, as you just saw, I can stand on this. This thing's solid. It's built to be sturdy. It's not gonna flex one way or another because of the way we designed it. So on sturdiness scale, I'm gonna go a 5. I think this thing is pretty much as sturdy as they can be out there. And then the functionality, mobility aspects of it. So again, we designed it for wood storage on the bottom. We've got drawers for storing smaller tools and accessories that you need. And then we've got plenty of worktop space on top. It's got a lot of functionality benefits with the variability within it. And as you'll see in the build video, if you haven't already watched it, this thing's on caster wheels. So we can just wheel it around the shop if we need to and change what we're using it for. So functionality, mobility aspects for it, I'm gonna say that it's gotta be at least a 4 out of 5 on that aspect. And for the last workbench I've gotten here is my custom outfeed table. Now this is a bit of a hybridization design between the 2 other styles. It's got a plywood structure that lives inside of the outer frame. So the outer frame gives it the strength, and the plywood structure is just ease of storage and capabilities, making drawers. So as far as ease goes, I would say this is the most complex design. Now you could buy some lumber from the big box store and make a variant of this. It would make it a little bit easier. But as far as mine went, I used stuff that I bought rough sawn poplar for the exterior frame. And that required a lot of extra work to build this, to design all this stuff. I put in extra details on this. I've got routed edges on all my drawer braces to make things a little nicer. So on an ease side, I'd say this one that I built is probably a 2. If you were to substitute in lumber that you could buy at the big box store, some 2x8s for the frame, it could go up to maybe a 3, but it is still a bit more of a complex design. That said, I willingly chose to do that. I wanted this to kind of be a little bit of an experimentation piece
shop projects are great to allow you to try out different techniques that you've never done before. And that's kind of what I was doing. I just recently started getting access to rough sawn lumber. So this was a practice of milling up a lot of that, getting it right in shape that I needed, and adding in some features that I hadn't ever done before. Now for cost, it would be, again, kind of in the middle. It doesn't require nearly as much plywood as our miter station did, but it's nowhere near as cheap as buying a bunch of 2x4s and building our beginner workbench. So I'd probably have to throw this middle of the road as well on the cost side, probably give it maybe a 3. Storage, as you can see, I'm not even done fully designing this workbench. I've got 5 drawers for lots of storage on this side. It's versatile. I mainly use this for assembly when it's not as an outfeed table, so I've got lots of different hardware and jig stuff built into these drawers. And I've got more space that I am not even using at this point in time, and I don't really know what I'm going to use it for, whether I'm going to put in shelves or maybe a couple more drawers or some combination of the two. So storage capability for the size of this workbench, I'm really have plenty of storage capability. Truck driving by. Love that in the background. And then sturdiness, this is just as sturdy as our 2x4 workbench. So I've maxed this out as a 5 out of 5 on the sturdiness capability. You can put a ton of weight on this. You can stand on it if you really wanted to. It's not going anywhere. It's not rocking side to side. You could do any type of chiseling or planing that you needed to do if you clamped your piece down to the work surface. And last being the functional mobility aspects of it. So while this is sturdy and rocked in place and not going anywhere, it does have, and I've talked about before, the capability of these mounts on the side for retractable casters that I've mentioned before. You can just slide them in to the slot, and they come with a locking pin. And then when you want to move the bench, you just step on them to raise it up, and everything can slide around nice and easily. So with those retractable casters and the ability to move this around wherever I want it to be, I'd give it a 5 out of 5 on the functionality and versatility. As I said, it functions as an outfeed table for my table saw as well as an assembly location, and I can easily wheel it around the shop anywhere I want to if I need to.
So how did each of the benches stack up? Well, the results are right here. And as you can see, we have a winner in our beginner style workbench, which just goes to show you that you don't have to build some crazy fancy ultimate workbench out there to get what you need. Now, my rating is purely subjective to me, and maybe some of these criteria are more important to you than others, which could change how this shook out. Maybe cost isn't a factor. I will say that while it didn't win on the criteria, the outfeed table, as I said, I chose to make that more complex than it needed to be. So I would honestly say that depending on where you're at in your woodworking journey, I would recommend either this bench or that bench. If you're looking for something more advanced and complex to build and you want to have fun with it, I'd highly recommend do some custom design like that. If you're looking for something easy and cheap to build, please go check out our beginner build video on this workbench. Comment below if you've got your own style of workbench out there that you use, and we wish you the best as you pursue your own craft.